Hello friend, and welcome to this video. I will do here something new for me, and something I might repeat. I will read aloud from a very old, ancient Mahāyāna scripture, the Mahāvaipulya Buddhāvataṃsaka Sūtra, the great expansive Buddha's Flower Adornment Sūtra, often called just the Avataṃsaka Sūtra or the Flower Adornment Sūtra. This absolutely massive and very, very influential Buddhist scripture, 2,400 pages long, was compiled somewhere like at the earliest in the 3rd century CE, in the 200s, so to say, from probably originally separate sutras, and kind of compiled together and bound together with kind of like a loose overarching narrative of several councils or meetings of various bodhisattvas and so on, where they discuss matters, and compiled at the latest in the 5th century CE, because the earliest complete Chinese translations of this scripture are from that time. And we have several Chinese translations we know of, and the one I'm reading from, this is an English translation by Dharma Bhikshu, published in 2022, so quite recently. A translation from Shikshananda's Chinese translation from the year 699. So it's not the earliest Chinese translation, but this is perhaps the most complete, and Dharma Bhikshu at least found this to be the best source. There is one earlier translation into English by Thomas Cleary in the 70s, but that was quite idiosyncratic and did not had weird translations of many of the Sanskrit terms, and it was not complete. It was kind of like only parts basically of the sutra. But this is a complete translation, and it's massive, and we are now, the part I'm reading you is already 300 pages in. Chapter 10, a Bodhisattva asks for clarification. Here in this chapter, Mañjuśrī, the Bodhisattva of discriminating wisdom, asks various other Bodhisattvas questions, and the Bodhisattvas answer, knowing that Mañjuśrī is doing this for kind of didactic purposes and knows already the answer. They still answer the question for the benefit of all beings. So Mañjuśrī's questions are in prose form, and then the kind of the Bodhisattvas answer in verses. So I will read through a question, Mañjuśrī's question, and then the answer verses to it. And after I have read them, I will then provide some commentary on how do the verses answer Mañjuśrī's question. Okay, with all that preface, let's go. So, Chapter 10, a Bodhisattva asks for clarification. At that time, Mañjuśrī Bodhisattva asked foremost enlightenment Bodhisattva, Son of the Buddha, since the nature of mind is singular, why then does one observe that there are still many different distinctions in individual cases, such as going forth into the good destinies or into the wretched destinies, coming to have complete faculties or deficient faculties, taking on the same or different kinds of rebirths, becoming handsome or ugly, or experiencing differences in suffering or happiness? And why then does action not know mind, mind not know action, feeling not know retribution, retribution not know feeling, mind not know feeling, feeling not know mind, cause not know condition, condition not know cause, cognition not know objects, and objects not know cognition? At that time, foremost enlightenment Bodhisattva responded with verses, saying, The worthy one now asks about the meaning of this, in order to awaken the many benighted beings. I shall respond to these matters in accordance with their nature. May the worthy one please listen closely. Dharmas themselves are devoid of any function, and are also devoid of any essential nature. Therefore it is the case for all of them that each has no mutual knowing of any other. This is analogous to the waters of a river, which, forming into rapids, race along together in a rush. Even as each of them has no mutual knowing of any other, so too it is with all dharmas. This is also comparable to a great conflagration, containing fiercely blazing flames arising in unison. Even as each of them has no mutual knowing of any other, so too it is with all dharmas. This is also comparable to when a swift wind arises. As it encounters things, it drums at and blows on all of them. Even as each of them has no mutual knowing of any other, so too it is with all dharmas. This is also comparable to the many earthly realms, which each in turn dwell in dependence upon the others. Even as each of them has no mutual knowing of any other, so too it is with all dharmas. The eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, the mind, the intellectual mind faculty, the sense faculties. Because of these, one forever flows and turns about in cyclic existence, even as there is no entity who is able to direct this turning about. It is the nature of dharmas that they are originally unproduced, even as when manifesting, production still exists. In this there is neither anything able to produce manifestations, nor is there anything that is thereby manifested. The eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, the mind, the intellectual mind faculty, the sense faculties, they are all empty and devoid of any inherently existent nature. Yet mistaken thought discriminates and conceives of them as existent. When contemplated in accordance with principle, everything is found to be devoid of any inherently existent nature. The Dharma eye is inconceivable. Vision such as this is not inverted. Whether real or unreal, in quotation marks, whether false or not false, and whether worldly or world transcending, it is only by resort to artificial designations that one speaks of them. This was foremost Enlightenment Bodhisattva's answer. So let's go for some commentary and analysis. What does Mañjuśrī ask? Mañjuśrī asks that, why, if the nature of mind is singular, so it's the same in all beings, their mind fundamentally is identical, or it's the same, it's qualitatively identical. We all have the same kind of, the basis of mind is the same kind of emptiness and the same kind of brightness. It's the same kind of, like what in Tibetan tradition is called, it's kind of empty illumination. It's empty, but it's illuminated. There's appearance, but the fundamental base of it is empty. It's the same. It's also what is called Buddha nature. We all have the same Buddha nature. It's the basic nature of the mind is the same in all beings. So why then does one observe that there are still many different distinctions? And why do beings have different kinds of fates? Why do some have wretched destinies and some have good destinies? Some are handsome, some are ugly, etc. Why then are there differences, we could say, in mind streams? Why do these kind of flows of aggregates, this kind of empty, selfless flows of aggregates, where the basic nature is for all of them the same? Why then do mind streams still, why are they still qualitatively different in the appearance? Why do they appear for themselves and to others as different? But he also has another question. And why then does action not know mind, etc.? Why don't different dharmas, why don't they interact? Because in this kind of metaphysics, things kind of arise. They arise on their own, and though everything is interdependent on everything else, nothing causes anything. It's more like a totality of kind of interpenetration. Everything is interpenetrated. So it's not like that. There's a billiard ball that goes and touches another billiard ball, like a click, and then the other one moves. It's more like that the entirety of reality, we could say the total karma of reality causes everything to happen. So the world shifts from one state to another, and there's no singular causation. This is how I would see the metaphysics of causation in this kind of Mahāyāna theory. There are cause and conditions, but they do not actually. There's no actual causation here. So why then don't, why is it so? Why don't different kind of dharmas, different phenomena know each other in this way? Why don't they affect each other directly? And so those are the questions. Why are there distinctions between beings if the nature of mind is singular, and why don't dharmas or phenomena affect each other? Why don't they know each other? Why don't they kind of inform each other in different ways? And foremost enlightenment bodhisattvas answer. The first verse. The worthy one now asks about the meaning of this in order to awaken the many benighted beings. I shall respond to these matters in accordance with their nature. May the worthy one please listen closely. This is just kind of letting Mañjuśrī know that yeah, I know you know the answer already, but I'll answer you still for didactic purposes. Dharmas themselves are devoid of any function and are also devoid of any essential nature. Therefore, it is the case for all of them that each has no mutual knowing of any other. Dharmas themselves are devoid of any function. They don't actually do anything. In this kind of view, dharmas phenomena arise, but they don't do anything. They don't cause anything else. They arise, and they immediately kind of there's a constant arising and disintegration, we could say. It's constant and it's so fast. Like dharmas, they change all the time. Phenomena change all the time. It's basically just constant change. One can't even perceive any phenomenon there. They actually they're devoid of any essential nature because they're not even, one can't even see them, one can't even perceive phenomena as they arise. They arise and they disappear immediately. It's basically at the same time, at the same moment they arise and they disappear. So neither arising or disappearance can actually be seen because there's nothing to be seen that arises or disappears. This is kind of anicca, deep anicca, or impermanence practice can show this. And I have a video on this, like the emptiness of phenomena. Yeah. But because they're empty in this way, they can't even be seen. They don't actually do anything. Everything arises kind of out of the total field of reality, or it kind of arises out of mind in some sense. These phenomena that we experience are fabrications of the mind stream, of this particular mind stream, and it kind of they arise from the mind. But they don't kind of cause each other, and so it is for reality. They arise and they disintegrate. So continuing, he has these four analogies. The waters of a river forming into rapids, like the water element. These are like obviously the four primary elements. So yeah, waters of a river forming into rapids. A great conflagration with fiercely blazing flames arising in unison. Comparable to a swift wind, and how the wind kind of drums on different things. There's gusts of wind here and there. The wind forms different kinds of gusts or forces of wind which kind of blow on different objects. They kind of drums it and blows on all of them. And then there's the earth element, the many earthly realms. In this metaphysics there's an infinitude of worlds. It's like a multiverse system with each universe containing basically an infinitude of worlds. And they kind of this is a bit more cryptic, comparable to the many earthly realms which each in turn dwell in dependence upon the others, even as each of them has no mutual knowing of any other. Here kind of this is the kind of thing, everything is completely interdependent. So but this is actually this is actually how things do not have mutual knowing in the sense of each other, that they don't cause each other, because everything is completely interdependent. Again, A does not cause B. The billiard ball A hitting billiard ball B does not cause the movement of billiard ball B. Everything is so completely interpenetrated that it's just everything causes everything. So in this sense, particular phenomena or dharmas or whatever, they don't have knowing of any other, but at the same time they are completely dependent upon the others. This I think is what is the best way to interpret this. And same with the other elements. Waters of a river forming into rapids, racing along together in a rush. All the waves of the water, they're formed of the same water, the same river. They're all part of the same river, and this is completely mutually interdependent. But they kind of they form into rapids, or one could say also waves. that kind of seem to be separate and seem to cause also particular things, but they're completely interdependent, and they're completely dependent on the river itself. They're kind of they're just parts of this whole, and the whole causes the rapids and the waves, not the waves themselves. And with the great conflagration with fiercely blazing flames rising in unison, same thing here. It's same as water and waves. Basically, the flames are just kind of parts of the conflagration, rising from the conflagration, not from themselves. In this sense, also, not arising from themselves, like by themselves. This also kind of ties into how they're devoid of any essential nature. And the swift wind, as it encounters things, different gusts of wind, the same thing. Like there's air moving, there's the wind. Like it's a windy day, there's the wind, basically the air. It's all one big thing. Air, but it forms these gusts, and they seem to be separate, and they seem to cause things, by themselves, but they actually have no function. They don't do anything. The world or reality does something, or like the totality of everything. Suchness, tathata, we could say, does something, but the gust of wind don't do anything. And they're also not separate. They have no essential intrinsic nature. Continuing on from these analogies, foremost enlightenment Bodhisattva said, the eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, the mind, the intellectual mind faculty, the sense faculties. Because of these, one forever flows and turns about in cyclic existence, even as there is no entity who is able to direct this turning about. So the mind stream can be, distinguished into these kind of different distinct sense faculties. Eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, intellectual mind faculty, the sense faculties, which actually are the eye, ear, nose, tongue, and body, and the mind. So the 6 sense bases, the salayatana, in Pali. These, the mind stream, can be distinguished into these, and these are actually qualitatively distinct. Mind streams are qualitatively distinct, not in their basic nature, which is qualitatively identical. It's just that same empty mind, the basis of mind, unfindable, from which everything arises. But they are qualitatively distinct in appearance. What appears? What is fabricated in the phenomena, in the dharmas? And this is why they also have different destinies. It's not because of their essential nature, which is identical, but it's because of their, we could say, what's the word? Very conditioned, or I can't remember the word, but it's like we could say their conditioned nature is different, and that causes different appearance to arise, and that appearance can include being sent into the hells or something in this life or another life, who knows. Even as there is no entity who is able to direct this turning about, so the mind streams are selfless. In this sense, no self can be found in the midst of that appearance, or in the essential nature of it. It's completely selfless, but still it can manifest the appearance of a self, and it can manifest the appearance of being in the hells or the heavens. And that is why, there's a distinction between beings or mind streams. So here we could say what was, what we talked about previously, the analogies of the elements, for example, and so on. Those answer Mañjuśrī's second question. Why don't different dharmas know each other? So why don't they basically affect or inform each other? And this what we here now consider answers Mañjuśrī's first question. Why are there distinctions between? Why are they different kind of mind streams, qualitatively different, and why do they have different fates? Why do beings have different fates and destinies and so on? And continuing, it is the nature of dharmas that they are originally unproduced, even as when manifesting, production still exists. In this there is neither anything able to produce manifestations, nor is there anything that is thereby manifested. This is interesting kind of verse, because it sounds a little bit self-contradictory. It says that, the nature of dharmas it is the nature of dharmas that they are originally unproduced. Yeah, nothing is produced. Nothing produces anything. Then and like one cannot see the production. Like it's constant change. So like there is no moment where one can see that like moment A in time something arises, and then moment B something is like disappears or is destroyed. It's so constant, the change, that one cannot distinguish these. One cannot find production. But then, even as when manifesting, production still exists. I think this is production still exists. This is I would not take this literally, because like the production doesn't exist there, but a sense of production can be fabricated for one, and the becoming manifestation still kind of progresses. New things kind of in that sense appear, even though the appearance of them, like the moment of their appearance cannot be found. And I think, foremost enlightened Bodhisattva here clarifies this in his words. In this, there is neither anything able to produce manifestations. Again, dharmas don't cause each other. Nothing is able to produce manifestations. We could maybe say that the mind is able in some sense to fabricate, phenomena. But that too is kind of like, there's no causation can be found there either. He continues, nor is there anything that is thereby manifested. So this is the thing, particular dharmas cannot be found either. They don't have any essential nature, and they don't have any existence in this. Like no existence can be found there. They're kind of beyond existence and non-existence, because we do experience dharmata, which is the one word also for reality, the flow of phenomena, phenomenal reality. We experience it. There is appearance, but we cannot distinguish particular phenomena. So like there's nothing thereby that is thereby manifested, even though production still exists in this sense. Like there is appearance, we just cannot see the production, and we cannot see the particular phenomena. And he continues, the eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, the mind, the intellectual mind faculty, the sense faculties, again, the sense bases, 6 sense bases. They are all empty and devoid of any inherently existent nature. Yet mistaken thought discriminates and conceives of them as existent. I think this points both to the emptiness of phenomena, as already discussed, but also to the emptiness of the sense bases, that the mind can discriminate between them. Mistaken thought discriminates and conceives of them as existent. There actually are no sense bases to be found. One has to discriminate and name. It's kind of like it's conceptualization in this sense. One has to discriminate and name the different sense bases as separate for them to be separate. Primordially, there's just, we could say, tathata, suchness, or dharmata, the flow of phenomena. It's kind of just it's what in the West Rudolf Carnap called elementary experience, the totality of experience as it flows, undistinguished. So mistaken thought conceives of the sense bases as actually existent, although they are primordially, we could say, they are part of just the same field. And he continues, when contemplated in accordance with principle, everything is found to be devoid of any inherently existent nature. So here he kind of just widens this. Everything, all phenomena, everything, self, phenomena, everything. Nothing can be found to be no separation can be found, no matter how hard one looks. Basically, like we cannot see particular phenomena, we cannot see a self, we cannot see anything. It's kind of and it says everything is found to be devoid of any inherently existent nature. They are kind of only, we could say, conventionally existent in the sense that like we can see them as existing, we can fabricate that kind of sense, but we cannot actually find them to kind of inherently exist in any sense. It continues, the Dharma eye is inconceivable. Vision such as this is not inverted. So I think the Dharma eye is inconceivable. This kind of means, I think, basically that it's kind of ineffable. Like it's very difficult to put these things into words. It's more like an experiential thing, and it's kind of we cannot really conceive of these things intellectually in a complete fashion. I mean, like I certainly try, And I think it's important to try. Otherwise, they wouldn't have written all this stuff down. Also, like, this massive, scripture. But it's kind of, also often mentioned that it's kind of, it is ineffable. And, all of this is like a finger pointing at the moon. One cannot explain the Dharma. Like, because the explanation is just words. It's just nama. It's meaning. And it's not, phenomenal reality as such. It's kind of, the distinction is still there. So, like, no explanation can capture reality. It's all just a finger pointing at the moon. And then, one can maybe be inspired by these words to look at the moon, to kind of, to be like, oh, yeah, and then, like, have the experience of seeing the moon, seeing kind of, what is meant here. Not this meaning of this text, but what it points to. Vision such as this is not inverted, he says. It's not inverted. I think it's a weird saying, but I think this means that that the Dharma eye, like seeing in this kind of dharmic fashion, seeing the kind of non-existence and non-existence. That things are beyond existence and non-existence. Seeing with this Dharma eye is a helpful thing or a wholesome thing, or like it's not kind of perverted or something. And finally, he says, whether real, in quotation marks, or unreal, whether false or not false, and whether worldly or world transcending, it is only by resort to artificial designations that one speaks of them. And this is very important, yeah. Things are not real or unreal as such. They're not false or not false, and they're not worldly or world transcending. These are all pretty important, like taken separately, actually. So things are not real or unreal. I think this is basically the same as saying that things neither exist nor not exist. They're beyond this kind of distinction. These are just words and distinctions, and things are such. They are not real or unreal. Those are just kind of designations, artificial designations. They are such. One can only gesture. Their nature cannot be captured by these things like existence and non-existence, or reality or unreality. They are such. Whether false or not false. This means that, this is kind of basically about, I think, propositions, because propositions have truth values in we could say, It's like, things like, snow is white and so on, or like, that this text is ancient, or that, dharmas exist, phenomena exist. Like, these are all propositions. And propositions, like, traditionally they're seen to have truth values. They're true or false. But what this kind of points to here is basically that, they have no truth value in this sense. Like false and not false. So basically, true and false, we can say false and not false, are artificial designations. They're like, they do not actually apply to reality. They're only relative things. Like propositions can have truth value relative to other propositions. So like in the kind of language game we are playing, we could say. But as such, they do not apply to reality. They have no absolute truth value. They don't have truth value as comes to reality, or to phenomenal reality, what we kind of experience. They only have truth values relative to other propositions. So this is kind of put in kind of in Mahāyāna. There's a distinction between absolute truth and relative truth. And this means that, like propositions can never kind of be absolutely true. Absolute truth is not propositional. It's basically experiential. And the only thing that propositions can have is relative truth. And relative to what? Relative to language, relative to convention, relative to other propositions, relative to our attributions of meaning. But never to absolute truth, which is kind of basically tathata, reality itself, suchness, this. And whether worldly or world transcending, this distinction also important, because I think this points to the kind of the very important Mahāyāna doctrine that samsara, this reality, what we experience, and cyclic existence also, if there is such a thing as rebirth, samsara equals nirvana. That they are the same thing. It's just about the view. This is very important in Mahāyāna and also Vajrayana, Tibetan Buddhism. Like, as Longchenpa, the great systematizer of Dzogchen, or Dzogchen actually, Dzogchen, he puts it so that, you know, that samsara, we could say, is an illusion of imperfection. It's a view of imperfection, that this thing that we experience is imperfect. Whereas nirvana is an illusion of perfection. So it's basically that this thing we experience is perfect, a view that sees it as perfect. And this is the kind of the distinction. I could go for another set of these verses, but I noticed that this is already quite long. So if you allow me, I will end this here, and then continue later. This chapter has 10 of these kind of things. So if I do the whole thing, you know, this chapter, it will take quite a while, you know, maybe 10 videos, you know, or whatever. But we'll see. I hope this was already interesting. You know, like basically the themes here were emptiness of phenomena, emptiness of self also to some degree, but emptiness of phenomena and emptiness of causation. Both are kind of, you know, pretty important and interesting. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I will gladly make another video to follow up here. Be well, friend.